Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today, it's time for a top 10 list. We are looking at the top 10 Pokemon right now. Now, we're taking EXs and GXs out of it because do we really need another video right now where we just talk about how Zoroark and Buzzwole are the best Pokemon in the format? We're going to have to mention them again, because it's true. But we don't need to do that now. Let's focus on the little Pokemon, ladies and gentlemen. The baby Pokemon, if you will. Hey, Nick! And we'll start off with a couple of honourable mentions. The Giratina promo. It's basically just a tech to beat out break decks, which basically means Greninja break. No one's playing Giratina anymore, but it still deserves a mention. Similarly, there are a whole bunch of cards that are just not quite good enough. Talonflame's got that amazing ability where you can start with it, essentially as a basic Pokemon. Free Retreat, 1 energy, 40 damage, and search for any 2 cards. Yowza, not quite good enough. The Sensu Oricorio is amazing in Expanded, with the attack for 1 colourless energy that does 10 damage, or 1 damage counter, to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each Pokemon in their discard pile. Great against Night March. Not quite good enough to put it on this list, unfortunately. Although I do think that card should be played just a little bit more. Zoroark from Breakthrough is a great card. It's got an ability letting it jump in the active for just a double colourless energy, 10 damage plus 30 more for each of your opponent's bench. It's a great card, but it's just not quite in the top 10. Mewtwo from Evolutions is a pretty good counter for the aforementioned Buzzwole, but generally you need to have free energy on Buzzwole for Mewtwo to really do its thing, and essentially Mew from Fates Collide is better and just much more widely played at the moment. Vikavolt is a great Pokemon. It accelerates a grass energy and a lightning energy from your deck every turn, but it's only really good with Tapu Bulu. There's never really been a second deck where this has been good, unfortunately. And Gallade from Breakthrough is another really great Pokemon. Ability that allows you to just rearrange the top 5 cards of your deck. Great with Octillery to draw them. And then an attack for a double colourless energy that does 130 if you've played a supporter. This is a good card, but it's only really good in Gardevoir. And the rest of the cards on the list are good in multiple decks. So coming in at number 10, Solgaleo Prism Star and Lunala Prism Star. Now, they've both got decent attacks that can do a whole bunch of damage and are very nice, but they're really here for the first attack. 1 energy. For each of your opponent's Pokemon in play, attach a Metal, or Psychic, depending which one you're using, energy card from your discard to your Pokemon in any way that you like. That is crazy over the top good. We're already seeing Solgaleo see a lot of play with Duskmane Necrozma, and although Lunala isn't seeing that much play, both of these Pokemon are going to be staples in any deck that uses more than a couple energy and is the right type from now until they rotate out, and I think they deserve the spot at number 10. In at number 9, Mr. Mime. And not just because there's assonance between 9 and Mime. No, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mime is a great little Pokemon to sit on your bench and just protect yourself. Tapu Koko still sees a fair amount of play in a whole bunch of decks. 20 damage to each of your bench, but not if there's a Mr. Mime. We mentioned Buzzwole, 30 to the active, 30 to one of your bench, but not if you're playing Mr. Mime. It protects your bench, and we love him. In at number 8, Hooper from Shining Legends, with the crazy good ability that gives you immunity to EX and GX Pokemon. We do see this as its own deck, using Fighting Fury Belt to give a bit more HP while attacking, but we also see it as a wall deck with stuff like Wailord in Expanded and Xurkitree. And we see it just as a bit of a tech in hit and run decks like Donphan. It's just got so many uses. It sees a lot of play. It is the best safeguarding Pokemon we've got at the moment, because a lot of old Pokemon that had this immunity were called Safeguard. So I think it should come in at number 8. In at number 7, Alolan Vulpix. Honestly, a Pokemon that should probably be higher it's just not seeing as much play as it used to. Beacon for 0 energy searches for any 2 Pokemon and puts them into your hand. Now your opponent can end you, but worst case scenario, you get a new hand of 6 cards. Well, we've all played Pokemon that did just that. So it's not that bad a result here. And if they don't end you, you start your turn with the exact 2 Pokemon you want next turn. Well, that sounds pretty good to me. Plus, it's for 0 energy. So if you search it out with something like a Bridget, you can use your energy for the turn to retreat your active and then still use Alolan Vulpix. In at number 6, Eevee. Now, we've had the Energy Evolution Eevee before. We had it in Furious Fists. It was great. We've now got it again from Sun and Moon. Still great. You attach a basic energy and then you evolve it from the deck into any type of Pokemon, any type of evolution, that matches the basic energy you attached. Yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty gosh darned nice. We see this making Sylveon decks better. We see it making Glaceon decks better. We see it making Espeon decks better. And all of these have single energy attacks, which see a lot of use, other than Glaceon, which has an ability that blocks EX and GX abilities, so you can get that going turn 1, going first. It's great. In at number 5, I'm cheating just a little bit. I'm using Sudowoodo, but I'm going both Breakpoint and Guardians Rising, because I didn't think it was fair to give Sudowoodo 2 spots on this list. So the one from Guardians Rising is probably the worst one at the moment. It just means your opponent can only have 4 bench spaces. Really good for stopping Pokemon like Zoroark and Empoleon from doing extra damage. And it's nice little disruption, but really it just stops those Pokemon that do more damage based on the number of their bench Pokemon. But I think the one from Breakpoint is even better, because it's got Watch and Learn for 2 energy, but generally played in decks that play Max Elixir, although it does also sometimes see some play with counter energy. You just copy the attack your opponent used last turn. Your opponent uses Riotous Beating with Zoroark, you use Riotous Beating, except you get a KO because you're hitting for weakness. Your opponent uses Knuckle Impact with Buzzwole, you whack a Choice Band on there and you get a KO, using Knuckle Impact. Your opponent uses Duskmane Necrozma to do 220 and get a KO. You do 220 and get a KO. And what's brilliant is you only have to discard 2 energy because you've only got 2 energy attached to you. Borderline broken in that it kind of seems a little bit too good, but I'm going to allow it in at number 5. In at number 4, Tapu Koko. It's a basic. It's got free retreat. It attacks for colourless energy. It can use double colourless, and it does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. It's just about the best starting Pokemon we've seen in a very long time. I love it. It's great, and sometimes you have to play this in decks to bring Pokemon into range. For instance, a Tapu Bulu cannot KO a Gardevoir even with a Choice Band. But as soon as Tapu Koko comes out and flying flips, all those Gardevoir are now in range. It's that good. In at number 3, Garbodor, and once again I'm cheating a little bit and putting both Garbodor in one particular slot. You've got the one from Breakpoint, which just blocks abilities from all Pokemon in play. I mean, it's pretty much just a reprint of the old one from Dragons Exalted, which was great and saw a huge amount of play. And this one is great and sees a huge amount of play. It is central to many, many decks in the format. It's played with Espeon, it's played with Zoroark, it's played with Drampa. It's just great. And then we get the one from Guardians Rising for 1 Psychic Energy, 20 damage for each item in your opponent's discard. It's not as good as it used to be. But the only reason it's not as good as it used to be is because people are making their decks so they're less vulnerable to this. As soon as people get complacent, this will become amazing again, just like it was in Seattle last year, where it was 75% of the top cut. And then 75% of top 8. Yeah. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely ridiculous. In at number 2, Mew from Fates Collide. It's jumped up this list lately. Wouldn't have been here a couple months ago. But the reality is Buzzwole is everywhere. And Espeon's still seeing a fair amount of play. And Mew's a single prize Pokemon. So you can use it to get a KO on something like a Buzzwole because you're hitting for weakness. But let's say you're playing Tapu Bulu Vikavolt. You can still use that same great attack that Tapu Bulu's got to do 180. But then you're using a single prize Pokemon, not a double prize Pokemon. It's awesome, but it's not in at number 1. In at number 1, I've had to cheat because how do you choose between them? Oranguru and Octillery, the draw Pokemon that begin with O. Oranguru is a basic you draw until you got 3 cards in hand. Octillery is a stage 1 you draw until you've got 5 cards in hand. But the fact of the matter is, both of these are absolutely vital at the moment. You have got to be playing a card like this in the vast majority of decks, unless you're playing something like Garbodor, to give yourself that extra draw power and that extra consistency. Otherwise, you'll just fall behind. In the late game, your opponent is going to end you to 1 in pretty much every game. But if you've got an Octillery or an Oranguru, you might just be okay. I know they're not great attackers, although Oranguru can hold his own. But honestly, they are the best non-EX, non-GX Pokemon in the format at the moment. And pretty much every, I was going to say the vast majority, but basically every deck that isn't playing Garbodor has got to play one of these, and I don't think there's much argument about these two being at number 1. But I'm sure you could argue about a lot of the rest of the list, and the place to do that is in the comment section, so go nuts. But be nice. And of course, full top 10. Full top 10 in the comments. Go on, I'd love you. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. Do check out my video game /Dragon Ball Super channel, Wassy Plays, where we've hit 1,000 subs. But we're going to keep going, and there's going to be a new Dragon Ball Super video probably today or tomorrow, so go check that one out. And of course, by far the most important thing as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.